What's up, everybody, and welcome back into another video here on Tom Girardi and everything that stems from a lawyer screwing over his clients, stealing money from his law firm, and stealing money that rightfully belongs to those who were injured victims that he represented, and fought hard to explain and prove why they needed all of this money. Yet here he is, lining his own pockets with it, confirming some of the allegations throughout this process, as we are going to hear today from one of the culpable parties, in my opinion. One of the parties that is supposed to be here to protect the citizens of their state, to rule over the lawyers in their state. The California State Bar has come out with a statement discussing their shortcomings and failings and negligence, if you ask me, in the mishandling of the over 200 complaints against Tom Girardi throughout his career. We're going to read through that statement today. And yes, we are going to read the statement together. I'm going to pull it up from the Sacramento Bee. I think this is the full statement. If not, it's a part of the statement. And we're just going to react and think about, if you were somebody that was screwed over by Girardi, how would you feel when you read this? How would this make you feel? Does this make up for the shortcomings and the mishandlings of the California State Bar? Would you want to know more? Would you want to know less? What would you want them to do? What would seem fair in this situation? That's the real question I have as we read through this together. So I'm going to put it up on the screen here. It is with great humility that we, as representatives of the State Bar of California's Board of Trustees and leadership team, respectively apologize on behalf of the State Bar to the people of California for our history of failing as an institution to hold former attorney Thomas Girardi accountable to his clients, despite having received over 200 complaints spanning 40 years. So that's the average of 5 a year, which may not sound like a lot, but most lawyers don't get 5 in their entire career. And if they do, they get reprimanded, disbarred, punished, whatever it may be, especially if any of them are legitimate complaints. Now, I'll say some of these may be illegitimate. So far in my 10-year career, I've had one complaint that didn't even make it to the level of the bar doing anything like they probably should have done in these 200 complaints. And it was an illegitimate claim, if you ask me, and the judge ended up agreeing with me. And that was the parent of an injured child at a daycare filed a complaint against me because I would not sign the money over to her, but instead, because I was legally required to by law and by statute to put it in a trust for the child. That was what the complaint was about, that I did not give the settlement proceeds to her, but instead put them in a trust in her child's name. Okay, so that is the one bar complaint I've had in 10 years. And when you look at a situation like Tom Girardi, 240 years is unfathomable. This is a profession of ethics. It's a profession that holds itself to standards above and beyond just your everyday professional. I know some people may laugh at that or may not think it's true, but that is the point of having these state bar associations in place, to protect the people from lawyers screwing them over, because we realize lawyers have a lot of power over their clients. They have fiduciary duties. They have legal obligations. They have ethical obligations. And when they fail for 40 years, people get screwed and lives are changed forever. So the first question I would have if I was a member of the people that got screwed over by Girardi Keese is why? Why? And I haven't read this, so maybe they say why later. We're going to read this together for the first time, but why? What was he doing for you? And it may not be this board of trustees individually or this leadership team that's mentioned in this statement. It could be people in the past or people that are gone now, but why? Was he paying you off? Was he giving you money? Was he flying you on the private jet? Was he getting you elected to your positions where you would be powerful and making money in those positions? Why? I want to know. I want to look behind the curtain. I want to know why you did this, because it couldn't have just been negligence. It couldn't have just been, oh, we missed another one. Oh, we missed another one. That's one complaint every 2 months, basically with the same guy's name on it. You would start to notice that. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of lawyers in California, just like there are in Florida. And if the same guy's name kept popping up, you better believe red flags would go up and sirens would go off. They purposely overlooked these. So I would want to know why. That's one of the questions I would have. As an agency, we failed to oversee and detect potential mishandling of client funds. That's like the biggest deal in legal practices is client funds, trust funds. This money literally belongs to the clients. If I take it, I'm stealing. Now, there's some things that can come up with bookkeeping and screw up and you have to fix it and whatever, and they usually work with you and it's no big deal. But if you steal it, it's not like you're taking your money that you were going to give to the clients. It is literally client funds. Overlooked mishandling of conflicts of interest and rarely identified patterns of complaints. We accept responsibility to continue making changes required to restore your trust in the state bar and to continue dedicating ourselves to our mission of protecting the public by holding attorneys accountable to their clients. That is their purpose. Attorneys have a lot of power. They have a lot of influence over their clients. They need to be held accountable by the State Bar Association, and they failed miserably here in holding at least one attorney accountable. So what are you doing? What changes are you making? And how are those changes going to affect me and my family in the future? The May report, an independent investigation into complaints filed against Girardi, commissioned by the Board of Trustees, after it was a little too late, concluded that at least 9 past state bar executives and employees accepted unreported gifts from Girardi, including payments for side jobs, private plane rides, sport tickets, and invitations to lavish events. Well, there's your answer as to why. At least 9 were being paid off with gifts and experiences from Tom Girardi. How are you going to prevent that from happening in the future? That's a question I would have. The report documented instances where individuals who had material conflicts of interest and improperly closed Girardi complaints, and that their conflicts likely tainted the decisions they made on behalf of the state bar. Well, duh. It's like, so they had these conflicts of interest. They definitely should not have been looking into the Girardi complaints, yet they did. And that's how he got all these complaints past the California State Bar. Now, what are you doing to prevent that? How can we be assured and confident that this isn't going to happen to the next rich and powerful lawyer? Because there are many in California that are probably doing the same thing, that probably learned from Girardi. It is clear that profound lapses in the state bar discipline system enabled Girardi to evade discipline for decades. The state bar has evolved into a very different organization during the past few years, with a new executive director, chief trial counsel, and general counsel, as well as a majority of new board trustees, all of whom are now appointed by the California Supreme Court, Assembly, Senate, and Governor. I'm pretty sure Girardi's influence went as deep as the judicial system, senators, governors, but I could be wrong. That's speculation. No staff named in the May report as participating in the unethical conduct are still at the agency. Well, isn't that nice? So nobody that you found out was actually the one screwing over these people in the state of California to help Tom Girardi still work there. That's great. But how do we prevent it from happening in the future? How do we prevent it from people helping other people they may know or be getting benefits from? Pursuant to a statutory change in 2018, the state bar discontinued its role as professional association representing lawyers to focus solely on protecting the public by overseeing licensing, regulation, and disciplining of attorneys, and by advancing equity in the practice of and access to the law. That is their purpose. That cannot be overstated. In response to what we have learned from the history of Girardi's complaints, the state bar has implemented dozens of reforms to its operations, policies, and procedures to enhance public protection. Like what? And they're going to tell us. For instance, the newly adopted Client Trust Account Protection Program requires California attorneys to register their client trust accounts with the state bar and complete an annual assessment of trust account management practices and comply with statutory requirements as custodians of the funds and property of clients and other persons. Well, we basically already have to do all of that, but now they're kind of putting a name on it. And wow, they're making them comply with statutory requirements. Isn't that interesting? Our decision to disclose the Girardi complaint history and then the May report is a demonstration of a commitment to transparency and of the importance we attach to restoring public trust. While the state bar has made significant steps to hold itself accountable to protecting the public, the journey is far from over. So how are you holding yourself accountable? What are you going to do for the people that made these complaints? And if you would have responded to the complaints in a timely manner, maybe they could have collected their funds and the amount that was due to them before they had to get in this long line of everybody else Girardi owes money to and become a creditor when he's now basically bankrupt and they're trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip. Where were you then? How are you going to fix that situation? Because if this was any private company and somebody complained of fraud and of somebody stealing money over and over again, and it kept getting covered up until the end, they were like, oh, actually, sorry, we were doing all this wrong. You know what would happen to them. They'd get sued for negligence, for gross negligence, for punitive damages, but not the state bar. And to be fair, the state bar is a not-for-profit organization. So it would make sense that they wouldn't be able to pay people back, and it would come out of potentially the other lawyers' money in the state of California. But what else can they do? Should they have insurance? I don't know if they do, but should they have insurance in place for things like this? Should they have liability insurance, malpractice type of insurance, errors and omissions? I think they should. And I think if they didn't have it during Girardi, they should get it now. So if this does happen, if more people are taking handouts and bribes and under the table deals from other big shot lawyers in California or any state, and clients find out about it, they should be able to sue the state bar for the insurance money, nothing above and beyond it, but for that insurance money to protect against negligence and mishandling of these things, because people's lives are changed. People's lives are affected. They needed this money. They were not just handed this money. They had to prove that they needed this money to make up for whatever happened to them. And I'm not saying to burn this state bar association or that all state bar associations are bad at all. I'm not saying that at all. Some are amazing. And some people that work there are absolutely amazing. But in California specifically, they had problems. They're admitting to these problems. And I think they need to do more and go above and beyond to protect their citizens from this ever happening again. Our decision to disclose, sorry, I read that. The state bar is committed to doing more, not only to identify, rehabilitate, and when appropriate, remove unscrupulous and unethical attorneys, but also to make access to the legal system more equitable and inclusive for all Californians. We are committed to partnering with the legislature to reduce the backlog of complaints against attorneys in a manner that prioritizes public protection, whatever that means. How do we know which ones are more important than the others? The State Bar Board of Trustees and leadership team expect to be evaluated by deeds more than words. I like that. And ask that you assess the agency's commitment in fulfilling its mission and regaining trust in the eyes of the public by the outcomes of our actions. I love that. I love that. Mark Toney, PhD, serves as the State Bar of California Board Trustee and Executive Director. I really like that. I think those words are good. And I think it's good that he said it's more about action than it is about words. And we're going to do more. We're going to go above and beyond. And one thing I would say is get insurance. Put it in place so you would at least have something to help some of these people. We realize you're not a big billion-dollar company, and they're not going to sue you and take money from you as a not-for-profit governing body. That's not really how this stuff works. But maybe some insurance in place in case this happens in the future, since you know that it's a possibility and you know it can go unchecked, because it has for the last at least 40 years. Girardi cannot possibly be the only lawyer that's doing this stuff. He can't possibly be the only lawyer in California that is screwing over people by paying off State Bar Association workers. I mean, we know Murdoch was doing it in South Carolina in his own way. We need to protect these clients. We need to make sure we punish lawyers that are even trying to do things like this, because the people cannot represent themselves. That's the whole point. That's what I love about being a personal injury attorney is I'm representing somebody and fighting for them against billion-dollar insurance companies and corporations in a process and situation that they do not know how to handle on their own. And I don't sit here scared to say that. I don't sit here scared to say punish unethical lawyers, punish people that lie, cheat, and steal from their clients. There's nothing scared because I sit in the same chair that some of these other people sit in, because I'm not going to do that. Now, if I ever do, I deserve what's coming to me. You cannot do this. You cannot screw over your clients knowingly and cheat and steal from them and then pay off some people that work for the bar association to get it thrown out. So I do like in the direction this is going. I'm glad they made a public apology, but I hope it's not just lip service. And I hope, like he said, their actions are going to be louder than their words. Let me know what you think about this case. Let me know if you're following it. by hitting that like button and get your questions in the comments. I just wanted to run through it with you, read it, give you my thoughts and my responses and my reactions, because this is, once again, a lawyer that does what I do, screwing over the clients that we represent when they need it most. And it's happening far too often. So let me know what you think in the comments, please, and we can continue talking about this case and many others. That's all I've got for you today. Let's get to the outro. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Tragos Law is our handle. And don't forget to listen to the Lawyer You Know podcast, featuring new episodes every week. If you have a pase you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know.